We will start with engineering release or process management. Then we will go on to see some advanced functionalities around Siemens change management solution. In the last couple of sessions, we addressed storing and managing product data, be it CAD data or the related information like documents in a single central repository, and accessing that information directly from the data authoring tools, be it any commercial CAD tool or the Microsoft Office product suite, and users participating in PLM activities directly from the data authoring tools. That way they stay productive and effective. Now, the data that's getting created, stored, and managed inside the single repository has a life cycle associated with that, right? Someone initially creates it, maybe in a draft or development stage. It goes through a review process, it evolves, get matured, go to production. Maybe there are some changes while it's in production, right? And maybe it gets obsolete over a period of time, right? Now, let's see the challenges and leading practice in managing this data evolution cycle. When the data evolution happens on an ad hoc basis, without any formal structured process, we call it manual process, and there is always confusion and delays associated with a manual process. And that can result in process inefficiencies and result in lost time and effort, right? When we don't have a consistent enterprise-wide repeatable process, it's very difficult to find or gauge the lifecycle status or the maturity level of the data. When I look into a part or a part revision, I don't know whether that is at a development stage or whether that's production ready or if that is even obsolete, right? That can result in wrong revisions being built and shipped, which we definitely want to avoid. So the number one leading practice in the industry to address this challenge is to have an enterprise-wide consistent lifecycle statuses or maturity levels established for your data. In the example I'm showing on the screen, a data is going from a work in progress state to the development state to the prototype state and then to the production state, and it might become obsolete at a later point. Now, this lifecycle status can vary from organization to organization, and it can even vary from one type of data to another. For example, your CAD might go through the cycle. Your documents might just go from a development state or a draft state to a release state, right? So you can have your own statuses to suit your requirements. Now, a consistent standard lifecycle states established in the organization lead to a common understanding of the product development maturity level for the entire organization, right? That even helps you with effective collaboration and communication. When somebody says, hey, my part is at a prototype state, you exactly know what has been done so far and what is pending to take it to production, right? The enterprise-wide lifecycle status also form foundation for additional PLM functionalities like access control. You can have a different level of access control for a development part as opposed to a production part. You can have advanced functionalities like reporting or search and retrieve based on statuses, which we will see in the demo. So once an enterprise-wide consistent lifecycle status is established, the next thing is to define what needs to happen or what criteria need to be met before you can apply a status to a part or a part revision. Now, many companies have this well established, at least well documented, right? But they don't enforce it through an electronic workflow system. Now, when we don't enforce it through an electronic workflow system, users can switch to the ad hoc mode anytime, right? Knowingly or unknowingly. And there is no trail of what happened. So the industry leading practice is to have a repeatable electronic review and release process. And the electronic workflow template helps with both process consistency and real-time process visibility. For instance, if somebody wants to know at what stage a part is, they can go and open its workflow and see at which task it's pending or who is responsible for that task. And who is responsible for the next task, right? So it gives you real-time process visibility for the entire organization. Now let's see the Teamcenter solution to implement these leading practices. Teamcenter obviously support electronic workflows. The workflows can be as simple as or as complicated as you need them to be, right? So you can tailor the workflows to your requirements. For instance, if you're having a purchase part, right, something designed and manufactured by your vendor, you probably need an instant release or a single step review process to release that, right? Now, if you have a make part which you are designing in-house, manufacturing in-house, then you probably want to have a multi-step phase review process, right? With some parallel tasks, rejection loops, and stuff like that. Teamcenter can support any level of workflow complexity. It not only supports task sequencing, it also helps you to enforce your business rules. For example, you can set a sign-off profile for a task, meaning you can tell who needs to sign that off, right? Or what is the sign-off quorum when you have multiple reviewers? Or you can make sure that certain key attributes are in a valid range before you can release something. Or you can go and check certain important data is attached to a part before you release it. For instance, you can go and check you have a release drawing before a part can be released. Okay, so the Teamcenter solution not only help you with task sequencing, it also helps you with enforcing your business rules. The other highlights includes anytime somebody is assigned with a task, they are immediately notified either through the Teamcenter workflow list or the Microsoft Outlook if you have Microsoft integration to Teamcenter established. Again, we saw how users can sign off tasks directly from their Outlook itself in the last session. Another highlight is the visual communication capability with the lightweight JT, right? Which again we saw in the last couple of sessions. Teamcenter supports multiple release statuses, and it also supports visual indicators for each of the status. In the example I'm showing on the screen, the moment you see a red checkered flag or an yellow checkered flag, you exactly know what that means in your organization, right? So that again helps you with easy communication and collaboration. The Teamcenter status forms foundation for certain advanced capabilities like search, right? You can search based on the status. If you're interested only on a production part, you can go and search for production release status. If you're interested only for a prototype part, you can go and search for prototype part, right? We can have some advanced reporting in CAD, visual reporting in CAD based on the status, which we will see again in the video. The status is again the foundation for BOM configuration, advanced Teamcenter BOM configuration. You can set effectivity, you can set revision rules, etc., based on the release statuses. Now let's see quickly see the Teamcenter solution in action in a video. Let's say I have a valve assembly managed inside Teamcenter, so I'm logging into Teamcenter. looking into that valve assembly. So if I go to the structure tab, right, I can go and find the release status of all the components, right? So I see that some are purchased, some are under development, one is at prototype, one is at production, and I see one component which is not released yet. Okay, so let's take it through the workflow and try to release that. So I'm going to that component, right? When I stand on that, it shows me a visual indicator of that, what that component looks like. Then I can submit it for review from here. So when I click on the submit for review, this new process dialog comes up, and it shows me all the workflow templates available in the system for my group and role. Okay, that's important. I can configure what release processes are available for each group or role, and for even I can even configure that based on the object you have selected. For example, if you select a engineering item as opposed to a manufacturing item, right? You can have different levels of different types of workflow templates for different types of Teamcenter objects. Okay. Now, in this case, I'm going to select approve for production workflow template. Now it shows me what is the target for that workflow. That is the item revision I selected in the first place. I can go to the process template tab, right, and see how this process look like, right? Now in this example, it's a straightforward 2 tasks, right? Somebody's going to review it. Once the review is complete, a task is going to be assigned. A status is going to be assigned, okay? I can go ahead and assign the task at the start of the workflow or in between the workflow, right? I don't have to assign all the tasks. If I have 10 tasks in the workflow template, I don't have to assign all the 10 upfront, right? You can actually assign it once the object is in the workflow. If you want to assign the task for the responsible party for the 9th task, you can do it after the 8th task is complete, or you can do it upfront too. Now in this case, I'm going to select a user for this task. I'm going to select somebody from manufacturing, so I have selected Mike. All right. So now let's see what happens to Mike's Teamcenter. When Mike logs into Teamcenter, there is a task waiting for Mike, right, in his inbox, with a small description what he is expected to do. And the task didn't come alone, right? It came with a target. So that is item revision, the user explicitly selected. And you can also see an NX data set also got added as the target. How did that happen? The workflow template was configured to programmatically add that, right? So we can have that kind of controls in the workflow. Now, when Mike, the manufacturing person, expands that revision, right, the target, he's seeing a markup there. So he's going to go and see, hey, what is there in that markup through the JT files, right? And he's seeing it directly from his Teamcenter, right? So he's not only going and seeing the markup, which is the holes added per production request. He want to go and make sure this hole is a manufacturable hole, right? So he want to go and interact with this part. What he's going to do, he's going to take a quick measurement to make sure this is a hole he can manufacture. So he did the measurement. The diameter looks good for him, and he's going to approve this. So he comes here, he's going to approve it. So once it was approved, if we go back to that component, right, let's see what happened there. So you can see the moment I open that component, you see a checkered flag here, and I know that's a production release, right? So that's the visual indicator for the release status. Now you can see this assembly is not at release, right? You don't see that flag here. So that's how you differentiate between what is released and what is not released. Now, if I go to the structure of the assembly, I can see when I scroll down to that component, that a revision is actually released. Okay. Now let's see a quick visual reporting of this assembly from NX. So I open this assembly in NX, right? I can run a visual report from NX. So I'm going to go and select all released, all status parts report. So when I run that, you can see there is a color coding for the entire assembly, right? And what does that mean is actually here in this window. Okay, so anything green is actually still development. Anything gray is production, right? Or purchased, and anything in yellow is actually prototype, right? So you can configure this report as per your needs, and it's a quick visual indicator of the real-time status of your assembly. Okay, so now let's switch gears to change management. We all know changes are hard, right? An industry study done by a Aberdeen group found these three as the top challenges for change management. Yes, increased product complexity makes changes hard. Disconnected processes or siloed organizations and departments make changes difficult. The need for global and interdisciplinary and interdepartment collaboration also add to the change management challenge. The leading practice in the industry to address this challenge from a process standpoint is to ensure that we do a formal impact analysis before we commit to a change, right? And it's preferable to do that impact analysis by a cross-functional or interdisciplinary change review board. From a technology standpoint, the best practice is to use the same system that you use for your product data management for change management as well. Meaning, extend your existing PLM for change management as opposed to having another disconnected siloed environment just for change management. Okay. Now, effective change management requires comprehensive coordination at all stages of the change, right? The driver for a change need not be always a problem that needs to be resolved. The driver can be a product initiative that you are doing inside your organization, or it might be a new requirement from a customer, or it might be a process or technology change, right? So it's very important to capture the driver for any change and to identify what needs to change upfront, right? Because changes can be costly, so you want to absolutely verify that the change is necessary before you commit for that costly change. If it's a problem from the field, you want to go and analyze that and make sure that's a repeatable issue, and that definitely needs to be fixed. If it's a program initiative or an internal initiative, you want to go and look at the ROI and make sure that this is a change I want to commit to. So at the end of the driver phase, we have a go or no go decision for the change, right? Now, once we go into the solution phase, that's when we identify a solution for, or solutions for all the drivers, right? Now, there might be multiple solutions. So you're going to do a cost-benefit analysis of each of the solution. Then you take it to your change review board. They deliberate on different options, right, and approve the best solution for you. Now, in the implementation phase, that's when you start executing the change, right? Now, this execution is not still at the physical level, it's still at the virtual level, right? What are you executing? You are making changes to your electronic drawings, you are making changes to your engineering BOMs or manufacturing BOMs or bill of process, or you are setting effectivity and stuff like that. So that's what's happening in the implementation phase. And finally, in the incorporation phase, that's when you actually make the physical changes on the product, right? And that becomes a closed loop change process. Now let's see the Teamcenter solution to support this closed loop change process. Any effective change management solution needs to support two broad things, right? One is the effective information flow, meaning the right information needs to reach the right people at the right time with the right level of access. Now that can be kind of addressed with the workflow we already saw, right? That takes care of my task sequencing, giving the information to the right people at the right time. Now there is a technology need to support the change impact analysis and to have complete traceability and capture all the information pertaining to a change, and also to support visual collaboration and to support a formal change implementation plan. That's exactly what Teamcenter Change Management Solution does. It's a context-based, visual and automated solution which is integrated with your product data, which is flexible or configurable according to your needs, and which is scalable too, meaning you can start with a simple process, then you can fine tune, and it actually make a fully complete change management process. Out of the box change management solution comes with certain out of the box objects and out of the box relations to capture all the data pertaining to the change process, starting from the driver state to the incorporation state. Okay. So at the beginning of the change, at the driver phase, an example is a problem report, which will be implemented by a change request, and a change request will further be implemented by a change notice, right? Now, each of these objects, problem report, change request, and change notice have certain relations underneath that, or this is a pseudo folder in terms of Teamcenter terminology, right? Now, at the problem report stage, what is relevant? It is the problem items and the reference items, right? So we have relations to capture that. When it comes to the change request state, probably we will also know the impacted items and the plan items for that change, right? So there is the pseudo folders or relations to capture that at the change request stage. When it comes to the change notice stage, that's when we have the solution items, right? So there is a relation or the pseudo folder to capture solution items here. Now, when you look at it, if I'm actually starting from my solution item, I have full traceability back to the problem or the driver of that solution item, right? So I can go and look at the change notice, corresponding CR and corresponding PR, okay? Now, the relation between these objects need not be one-to-one, right? Meaning I can implement multiple CRs as part of a single ECN, right? Or a single CR, a change request, can implement multiple PRs, okay? And if you have a valid case to split the implementation of a CR into multiple ECNs, the system that supports that too, right? From a process standpoint, Teamcenter Change Management Solution support the industry standard CM2 process. You can have a standard track, you can have a fast track, you can have rejection loops. The solution also supports tracking and evolution of key CM2 attributes like closure, maturity, and disposition. Now, these key attributes cannot be edited through the Teamcenter user interface. The only way you can edit that or change that is by taking these changed objects through a workflow. What does that mean? You have to follow a predefined process, even if you are a system administrator in the system with all the bypass rights, right? You are forced to follow the process, okay? And when you follow the process, there is an audit trail kept, okay? And there is also additional controls based on the values of the key attributes, right? And the role you play in the change, meaning whether you are a requester or a change specialist or a change analyst or part of the change review board of the change, right? Depending on your role and the value of those attributes, there are controls on what you can change on the change object. For instance, if a change object, say PR is, the disposition is already approved and you are the requester for that PR, you can no longer go and add a problem item or reference item because it's already approved, right? So, and again, those controls can be again configured according to your business needs. Okay, now let's go ahead and see the solution in action. Let's go. Let's start with creating a problem report. This time we will do it from an active workspace user interface. Okay. By the way, change objects are completely supported in active workspace. Active workspace is the way you want to take PLM to the masses, right? So this is my active workspace landing page. I have tiles for different things I want to do. And I have pinned a brake caliper assembly to my home page. So I can open that from there, or I can search and find that open. I can look at the BOM structure, right? I can go and see what are the components. I can select one retaining pin, right, and see it, and see where it's used, right? What are attached to that. Pretty much similar to what you can actually do from your rich client too, but in a much more user intuitive way. So now I am actually seeing that a retaining pin, right? The history of that, the relation it has, right, where it's used and stuff like that. So in the example I'm going to show, I'm seeing an issue with this pin. I'm going to create a problem report for that, right? So let's see that example. So on the right hand side, I have a button to create a change. So when I did that, it gave me different options. So I'm selecting a problem report. Okay, so it asked me some mandatory attributes, right? It auto-populated that. I can either edit that or actually use the existing ones. I can give a quick synopsis of what it is, right? It is synonymous to your item name. So I'm actually noting the pin is failing after 2,500 miles. I have a photo or a picture of the failure. I can attach that also with the problem report so that someone who is going to go and review that can relate to that issue. So I have added that JPEG image. I can either save that, I saved at this time, or I can directly submit your workflow